That's right.
Live in a society where honor is a distant memory. And by the way, who do you think screamed the loudest? The girl or the boy?
Josh Herrera, ladies and gentlemen.
Herrera. So,
You guys put a smile on my face. What's going on?
how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you for welcoming me back on the Lethal Geeks podcast. Very excited.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to have
man.
you here, bro.
Pleasure to have you, man. All right.
Straight out of the asylum.
You came straight out of the asylum. I love it.
Hey, that's my aunt. What's going on, Aunt Jerry?
That's
your
awesome.
aunt. Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Dude, I love it. Your mouth was even moving to the face of the
Yeah,
Joker there. That
yeah.
was so cool.
Pretty. Actually, during COVID, this was my favorite face coverings.
Oh, that's so cool.
Kicked out some people.
Yeah, for sure. That's quite creepy, bro.
Yeah, it's the Alex Ross one too, so it's pretty legit.
Awesome.
What's going on?
Alrighty.
Everybody?
So, Josh, man, talk to us, man.
Well,
What
we got
How to
was
start? How to start? I'll get it right out of the gate. So obviously you are into the cosplay. I don't know who your favorite characters are though, because you seem to like comic book, across all spectrums. So Marvel, DC, it doesn't really matter. You like all of it, and I see you dressing up pretty much as all of these characters. Do you have like a favorite character that you grew up with, one that draws you the most, or no?
Yes, sir. That would be the B-Man, Batman. When I was really young, my first Batman ever, believe it or not, was not Michael Keaton. It was actually Adam West. My abuelo,
okay.
my grandfather on my father's side, would record VHS tapes of Batman 66.
That's cool.
TV Land.
Nice.
Yep. So my first Batman, boom, pow, whack, bam, and Cesar
Holy
Romero.
smokes, Batman.
Yep. Robin, Burt Ward,
Same here.
Cesar Romero, my first Joker. And he recorded mostly the season 3, which included Batgirl. So most of the episodes, I always talk about me being a big Barbara Gordon stan, is because I just loved the three amigos, right? The Batman, Robin, and Batgirl all teaming up. Usually there was a situation where there's a part 1 cliffhanger, right? Robin and Batman are tied up over a vat of chemicals with Joker being one and Riddler, and then Batgirl had to come and fucking save the day.
So question: How old were you when your grandparents, or you said it was your grandpa? How old were you when he introduced you to that?
very young. So preface, I was born in '88. I was way too young to
I
have
don't mean to cut
watched
you off,
that.
man. Give me a second here. I'm gonna do a mic switch. I'll be right back.
No worries, no worries.
So I was way too young. So I probably was watching 66 episodes, probably as like a babysitter type thing, before the iPad, right? They
Yeah.
were just when I was being babysat by my father's side, my Latino side, they would probably put on VHS episodes of that, and I would always run around with a towel and a sabudo. Right, and rode my four-wheeler around thinking I was Batman or Batgirl. I don't know which one, but and so I remember watching. I still to this day have the VHS tapes. My Willow has the episodes. It actually includes at the tail end Ninja Turtles as well. So those were my two passions from a very young age.
Gotcha.
TMNT and Batman 66.
The TNT cartoon or the movie?
The cartoon.
The 80s. I'm
cartoon.
sorry, yeah,
The
cartoon,
cartoon.
yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
You know how I know that, Josh? Because
Hell yeah.
I was born in '88 as well. So we're the exact same generation. So I know exactly that the TMNT cartoon, for me, it was TMNT, it was Power Rangers, and Batman the Animated Series. That was it. That was my whole life growing up.
And to this day, I need to go back and watch it because I remember it ends because I watched that VHS over and over again. It still works, but it ends. There's an episode in the TMNT at the end where they're cutting onions. There's a villain cutting onions, and the turtles are crying, and they're like, "I can't," and then it just ends. And I'm like, "What happened?" So yeah, that was my introduction is Batman, to answer your question, Charles. And then of course '89 blew my mind fucking wide open with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton.
There it is. That's the one that did it for me right there. I mean, I used to watch the 66 versions, but yeah, it was the Keaton '89 one that like hooked me in. So yep.
Actually, Josh, just to I wanted to mention something. Do you guys have Paramount Plus down in the States?
Oh yes.
I believe that the '80s TMNT cartoon is actually streaming on Paramount Plus.
I need to see. Now I need to finish that episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's. I know it is on. I'm almost 90% positive it's on Paramount Plus. So if you do need to rewatch the show, you could check it out there.
Thank you. I need that unresolved trauma from my childhood to finally be. But yeah.
Now, Josh. So tell me. So okay. When it comes to Comic Cons, what age were you when you went to your first con?
So Comic Cons were something that I didn't really get into until later in life.
Okay.
So kind of like what Rox was leaning into, like I kind of, Batman '89 kind of got to my mature Batman at a fast age, right? And therefore I watched that VHS. I still have that. It's like ripped open, the paper sleeve, right? But it still works. And then of course led to Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series, #1, right? That's what literally made me. And there by extension, X-Men, that introduced me into Marvel. My Marvel is X-Men, basically.
You saw, so I'm assuming you grew up with X-Men, the animated series.
Yep.
Yeah.
X-Men the Animated Series, which led to Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man was my guy.
It was Wolverine and Gambit that did it for me, and that's what got me. Yeah. Yep.
And so I think a lot of us can relate, right? Like that's X-Men for us, and Spider-Man, that's Marvel, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of am finally getting on the Marvel side of things because I'm like, finally, like you're actually Marvel to me. Finally.
Yeah, we're starting to get that in the newer films too. So that's really awesome to be seeing. I hear you with that.
And so then Phil, by that, so comic books, because of Batman the Animated Series, my first exposure was the Batman Adventures comics, which were basically the spin-offs of the TV show.
Yeah, that's
right. And then, so I just have a little bit of a sample size because I know we like to prove and show receipts, right? So therefore, I don't. So one of my first comics, graphic novels, was actually A Lonely Place of Dying, which is actually the sequel that introduces Tim Drake, but this is obviously the infamous Jason Todd, right? And then so I have the Batman 89 adaptation.
Oh, you got the 89.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this is just a small sample size of my graphic novel shelf, and of course, this is just because
There
I
it
know we're
is.
Yeah,
talking
Killing
about-
Joke. Yeah, I got
we're
that one
talking
too.
about Mr. J, and then so I got more recent stuff. Brian Azzarello,
Brazier and Azzarello, I love that story. Yeah.
Batman, New 52's A Death of the Family.
Wait, was that Azzarello?
Yes,
The other one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
I got
Joker
his.
one, didn't he do a Lex Luthor one as well? I
Yes,
believe.
he did.
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And of
I
course,
have his Batman Damned,
yes. Do you have
Yeah.
the censored or the uncensored?
the uncensored.
Yeah, my man. Batman for the win. So of course,
The Dark Knight.
actually, my cousin had this exact, not this not this version, this copy, but he had this as a kid. And when I would go over to my father's side, my abuelo, and watch the VHSs, he would basically taunt me with this graphic novel where the Joker, and Batman are fighting, and it would give me nightmares. And so and it wasn't until a later age in life where I actually picked this up. And so, of course, I have Frank Miller as being a Frank Miller fan. This is a very controversial run.
I haven't read that one yet. Is it? Is
I mean,
I've heard mixed.
That's
reviews.
the I'm the goddamn Batman line
the
came
goddamn
from.
Batman,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm the goddamn Batman. It's a very, because this is basically Phil the
Yeah,
prequel to
it's
this, right?
right.
So
Right.
I love this because it introduces Babs. So you get to see Babs, and you get to see Robin hone Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. And so, of course, since fitting time of year,
Long Halloween.
Long Halloween.
and Batman
Batman
R.I.P.
Rip.
includes the
Nice.
Joker as well. And these are just because I know we're talking about a movie coming out. So I have Gotham City Sirens and I have the New 52. So I say all that to just say, Phil, because I didn't actually start going into Comic Cons because I couldn't really afford stuff, right? Like I'm a social worker. I work in mental health. I don't do it for the money because the money is not there. I do it out of the kindness and compassion of my heart. We can kind of allude to it in a topic when we talk about a certain movie. So
If you know, you know.
And I didn't actually start going to a Comic-Con per se until I think I got to San Diego Comic-Con, which is 2016. So I had been trying since 2012. So that's when I actually started. I was post New York. I was living in New York City, actually. Kind of did like a little walkabout.
Are you originally from New York, or are you?
No,
I know you're from Texas.
Born and raised in Austin, Texas. But for me,
Okay.
most of my family members who are in the chat love you to death. But we don't have, mostly when you're from Texas, you don't have aspirations to go outside, right? You're a proud Texan. You wear orange proudly, even if it says inmate on it. But there is something else. If you're in a group,
Yeah, shout out to Geek Defensive Initiative here. I'm actually graduating as a therapist next year, Josh. Nice to know another mental health professional. That's good.
Oh,
We need
congratulations.
We need people like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
we do. Yep. Shout out to you, GDI. And so I was kind of crazy basically for me because I had just graduated college, had a job in mental health field, wasn't paying well, had a bad toxic first relationship, which is it's on my arm. So it's kind of the reason why it's on my arm. The two characters that we'll talk about later is a reminder of just how I started, being an adult and wound up in a toxic relationship. And then ultimately fell into another one. And so now it's tatted on me. So like, all right, motherfucker, remember. And so I moved to New York City, just kind of, I wanted to go to Gotham, to answer your question, Phil. I really wanted to experience Gotham. And I did. I lived there without a job. I was hustling on the streets. I was selling comedy club tickets, hustling in any type of side job. It was even doing background acting. And that is how I connected with last co-host on the on Lethal Geek podcast, Brett Colbert.
Shout out to Brett Colbert.
Mm-hmm. I never did anything like Brett's like mainstream compared to like what I did. I was like background stuff.
So, pause for a second. So you actually knew Brett before you actually saw him?
No. I just connected with Brett because of Sky and
Oh, okay.
following him on social media and stuff, and just we started liking each other's stuff, and then just kind of chatting, and then I
Gotcha.
just threw it out there. I was like, hey, I know what it's like to be an actor. Hang in there, and we just started.
Before I forget, so just for disclosure, Josh was kind enough to reach out to Brett and accept our invitation. So I want to give you a thank you.
Yeah,
Josh.
we really have Josh to thank for that.
Yeah, man. Thank you, sir.
And you had reached out a long time ago, Phil, before Lethal Geeks actually was a thing, I think. And so at that time, he was kind of still hesitant. And so, sure enough, by seeing you guys,
and it's understandable, you know. I mean, we're still a relatively new podcast, so obviously, in time, once we have more subs, more interviews, you know, it'll be a lot easier. But that was a good, you know, it was a good opportunity to, you know,
y'all did an amazing job.
And
thank you.
I appreciate it, and it's all thanks to you, man. You made
man. We really owe you for you know, putting your word out there for us. We appreciate that.
Well, it's platforms like these, like honestly, I'm loving. I haven't really expressed it too much to you guys, but you guys are doing something amazing, like something better than I. Like you guys are becoming like YouTubers, but you're also just genuine fans, right? Like you're just creating a safe space. I love how you have the rules. You know, we are living in an election year, but we don't gotta fucking worry about all that.
Yeah.
People get on Twitter to do that, right?
Exactly.
We're
That's
here
not
to
what our
geek out
platform
and
is for.
talk about Batman, motherfucker.
Exactly.
But so yeah, New York City was just amazing, but it wasn't for me. Working in the mental health field, I was at the bottom of the barrel, and I couldn't really help. Like I was traveling to the Bronx to help this one kid. Basically, I was serving underprivileged youth, helping mentor them, tutor them. But I was living in Jersey. So,
so you would commuting.
Yeah. I claim New York because on the dating apps, everyone was in New York City because I was literally right across the Hudson, right? But I took.
I'm sure everybody does it. Like, oh yeah, I live in New York. No, but actually, no, I don't.
But I was in Jersey. I was actually in.
Dude, like a lot here in Massachusetts, a lot of people. Oh yeah, I live in Boston. No, actually, I live in New Hampshire.
Exactly. You know, it's right there. It's all connected.
I kind of do the same thing. I tell people I live in Toronto, but I'm actually a little bit further.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Semantics, right? But
after that Tinder day, it won't matter.
Exactly.
Wow.
But it was cool because I would get off at the Port Authority. If you've ever been in New York City, Port Authority, on 42nd Street, and I would walk on 9th Avenue, and there was a big store that had like Gotham on it, Gotham City, and I would just like always take pictures of it like over and over again. And New York was great, but it's also a city that you know, I really did as a Batman fan see Gotham City in New York City. I found Gotham, if that makes sense, for the good and the bad. And
by the way, Batman is saying something here. I need to ask: is this real?
Yes. Okay. Yes. I don't know if you heard about this. So
no, tell us, please.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. So I don't like to like bring it up because I do have receipts somewhere on my Nokia phone where I have pictures. So my ex-girlfriend and I took a trip to New York, my first trip to New York City, which made me fall in love with the city, for our high school graduation in 2005. I'm sorry, 2006.
2006.
Because Spider-Man 3 came out 2007. And it was
I know because that's the year I graduated.
Hey, we got to talk more about it.
We ain't too old for this shit.
We ain't too old
for this shit.
Yeah, so we were visiting the financial district during the day, and we saw light posts like filming notice, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, cool. What is this? And it was long. It was like all these like can't park between these hours and these hours, and I was like, Kayla, does that say Spider-Man 3? She's like, yeah, it says Spider-Man 3, but it was filming between the hours of like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. I was 17 years old at the time. My girlfriend and her best friend were 18. So they were like, hey, sorry, young kid. And me and my ex were like still friends, but I had broken up. Long story, toxic. Lo and behold.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. So that's why I say it. Gender doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.